It says to read 190 to 214. We may go further than 214, wherever I can get to.
That's the chapter 5 stuff.
Yeah.
This is chapter 6.
No.
No,
No, it's not.
It's 216 to 234.
234, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know it had a 4 in it. All right, that's the minimum we're gonna take on. And then you need to do a psych sim called, and this is due tomorrow or Wednesday at the very latest. Because there's 2 psych sims you need to do. I'm not sure about that. Called Colorful World.
Really?
Okay, and if you have other psych sims like cognitive development that you never have gotten around to giving me, that's overdue and long past due. I'm grading your tests. We did the multiple choice already, and the free response is fairly quick to grade, so I may not get any more done tonight, but I got 7 done before I came over here.
Can I take mine today? Or should I read it tomorrow?
I can give it to you to take,
Okay.
okay? And then you can kind of schedule it in whenever you can. Okay, all right, we ready?
Ready.
Rock and roll. Okay, so this chapter used to be divided, chapter 6, used to be divided into 2 different chapters. One was sensation and the other was perception. And now they're combined into one. And I have to say that Barron's is so helpful and makes it so easy. So utilize that, definitely. One other thing I was going to do before the break was to give you, print out one of the AP released exams and then start working on that, but we're ready for it, but we don't have the time this week. Okay, so first of all, we have to use all of our senses, our hearing and our eyes and our touch and our smell and our taste and our body position. Those are our basic senses to get the information about the world. So sensation is the first step, and it is receiving input from the sensory organs. And of course, each one does it in a different way. And we will learn about the eye, we will learn about the nose and the ear, and very specifically, just like we learned about the brain. So once we get that information, then the brain has to do something with it because it comes in as energy. Like these lights are part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And we can't use that information in our brain. It has to be changed. So we have to learn how to do that. And then perception is what does our brain do with this information? How our brain makes sense of the input. Okay. And of course okay. I knew you'd come. Hi. How are you?
Good.
Thank
Brownies?
you. What? Yay.
They're only for people who show up on time, though.
Oh.
Gross.
Wow, you are completely unforgiving. I would hate to be your daughter. Okay. Now, the first thing they hit us with is a concept which we might really want to learn a little bit later on, but we'll tackle it since they talk about it first. We're talking about sensation, okay? Getting the information from the world. We have two different ways that then they both operate at the same time. How we get the information. One is called top-down processing, and the other is called bottom-up processing. Okay, top-down processing is you take the information you see, it may be missing some pieces, and nevertheless you, I have to find words here.
Information processing guided by higher level mental processes as when we construct perceptions drawing on our experience and expectations.
Right, which is kind of meaningless.
Yeah, no idea.
So it's like top down is our brain and how we perceive things in our expectations.
Right. Here's an example of top-down processing.
I hope you got.
There's no
A
H.
5.
I know.
It's
It's
a
a
blank.
blank.
On the
AP test.
Oh wait, are we doing? I hope you
Exam.
get a 5 on the AP.
Now, how can
Exam.
you read that? How can you read that?
Because we're in
Top
AP
down
class.
processing.
That was brilliant. Because your brain fills in the gaps. Your mind fills in the gaps.
So is that what we should put?
That, yeah. It's essentially a quick and sometimes error prone, okay, it makes more mistakes, way of processing the information from our environment. And from our senses. And when we do that, it's good because we need to be able to make quick assessments, but we're gonna make mistakes. Now, the other way we process at the very same time is bottom-up processing, is taking into consideration every line, every angle, every circular feature of everything and constructing a whole out of it. And that makes more sense. And into our senses. To create what is in front of us, to create a representation of what's in front of us. Whatever the thing is. Whether the thing is a bird flying by, or a word on a page, etc. And we use both of these, and this is slow, much slower, but it's a far more accurate system. So we use them in conjunction to get our information. And of course, it's not just visual, it's everything. You can use it for hearing. You might hear part of someone's speech. And depending on what they say, you might say, let's see. This would be an auditory thing.
Can you explain what you mean by each line, angle, and curve?
I'm sorry, explain by,
What you mean by each line, angle, and curve?
oh, if you're looking at a bird, you're seeing that line of that wing is like that and it's that long. The curve of its head, all these things put together create an object, right? And of course, when I said that, I really was referring to visual. So look at that as an auditory. Eel on the wagon, eel of the orange. You haven't got any problem with that, right? So you only heard part of it, but so this would be what, top down or bottom up?
Top down.
Sure. You're missing part of it, but you're filling in the gaps. So we know that makes sense to say reel on the wagon and peel of the orange. So I think those examples might make it clearer. All right. Oh, we've only just begun. Now, there's so many cool things in this chapter having to do with visuals. Huh. Look at this image. Do you see a painting or a 3D bottle, which is a little risque? What's the first thing you saw?
Bottle.
I saw a painting.
Wait, what?
It's a lady.
Okay.
Looks like they're doing something.
It's a man.
They're naked and they're entwined. They're doing something. They both have like
Wait, where are the
arms
two
up.
people?
What?
Oh my gosh, it's so
They're right
dirty.
there.
I don't even see the
There's the female, there's her breast, there's her legs, and her arms around the male. Alright, the guy's behind her. He's got one arm around her waist and maybe another arm or shoulder or something coming down to hold her in the middle as well. There's his other thigh coming all the way down and his other thigh. His other thigh.
dolphins.
No, I see
You saw a dolphin?
Oh, I see the dolphins now.
the dolphins.
The shadows in the middle of them are the
Oh
dolphins.
my!
Yeah, I see the
They're all
dolphins.
Oh, I see it.
Kids see 8 to 10 dolphins.
Oh, they're so cute.
Adults
And
And
then adults see it inappropriate.
I don't see one. Oh, I see one. Okay, there's one, right?
Yeah, they're all dolphins.
All the
Oh,
shadows
okay,
are
they're in the
Fox is a tail of a
spaces.
dolphin.
Now, why would you think kids see something different than adults?
Because they aren't exposed.
They're pure.
Their minds are a little more.
They're
Go
innocent.
get
Their
dolphins.
expectations are different. And their experiences are different. So that's a pretty cool image right there. So our expectations
Wait a
will-
minute, hold up. On the painting it says like message of love of dolphins. It's
Does
in
it?
French.
Oh, I can't see that part.
It's a message d'amour de dolphin. Message of love from dolphins.
Message of love of the dolphins. Okay. Like you said. Wow, I've never noticed that before. All right, that's just an expectation will create our reality. Now, here's top-down processing. Do you see anything? Don't read the orange.
Tree and a dog.
Well, I did see
You see a tree?
I can
Is
see
that the tree there?
Yeah.
I thought
Is that the dog there?
I see some blue and white spots.
Yeah,
Or black and white
Wait, you
spots.
see blue?
Black and white spots.
Oh no, yeah, it kind of looks blue to me.
And is there a sidewalk? Yeah.
What am I seeing?
Yeah, I can see.
Going the, maybe
Kinda look like a
both
Tom
directions.
Bomb.
but
If I didn't
saw that, would you
read
ever be like,
the
"That's
orange, I
dog."
wouldn't know.
I read the orange and I still can't see it.
Okay.
Oh, I see the dog.
I told you not to read.
What is up with your guys'
No, I saw a
imaginations?
shadow of
A
a tree.
Dalmatian. That's so
Are
specific.
there dolphins in this picture?
No dolphins in
I
this
see
one. There's a
blue.
Dalmatian.
I don't know what you're looking at. I
Now.
haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Isabella, why is this top-down processing?
Because you may start to see something in this picture if you give your brain some time.
Oh,
I don't know why it's top-down processing.
Can anybody else help?
Maybe like filling in the blank.
Phil.
Just,
It's like,
more.
okay.
Dot, 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 dot. But what are all those dot, 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 dots?
Creating a picture.
You're
Creating a
filling in
picture.
the picture to like fit what you see.
How do we make a picture?
Top-down processing.
You guys are a tough crowd today.
Dots.
By filling in the gaps, right? That's top-down processing. Oh my, unteachable children, that's what you All right.
I'm sorry.
All right, in every process, whatever the sensory issue is, okay, to go from sensation
I just read that and I was like, oh my gosh.
to perception, there's some steps along the way. The first thing is you receive the information into your system, okay, by energy. All of the senses get your energy through, get your information through energy, okay? So the first thing is we receive. And that is energy waves. Whether that's vision, hearing, you know that that's just waves pounding at your ear drum, and touch, it would be heat. Heat is energy. Now, smell may be a different sense, okay? So energy waves hit receptor cells in specific organs, your eyes, your ears, etc. And the first one we're going to discuss is the eye, but not yet. And then something has to happen to that energy because your brain can't interpret it the way it is. You can't take light waves and create a visual image. It's got to do something called transduction, okay? And transduction is converting this energy, physical energy, into neural impulses. So here's the key word, neural impulses. That way your brain can understand it. And then the energy, the neural information is going to go through the thalamus, in every case except the smell. Then it's going to go, it says transmission. And it doesn't mention this, but it needs to. All of this information goes to the thalamus for routing to the correct sense organ, or to the correct part of the brain. I think what gets me about this chapter, even though it's new and very difficult, maybe not so difficult, but different, is that it's so, it tells me just how incredibly intricate our bodies are, and the things we take for granted about the things we can do. I can see, and I can hear, and I can smell, and I can touch, and we take those things for granted. Okay, now we start to talk about some specific terms. There are some basics that we got to make sure we understand. I mean, really nail these down well. The first one is called absolute threshold. A threshold is a level, okay? And it's the minimum stimulus that is needed for you to detect it. So the absolute threshold is the minimum amount of any stimulus necessary for you to detect it. And here's the kicker, 50% of the time.
Detect what?
The impulse.
Let's say I'm getting a hearing test and they play a particular tone. They're gonna play a whole range of tones to test my hearing. So they're gonna play one tone at a particular pitch and very, very softly. And if I'm able to hear it at least half the time, then they're gonna put a check mark by that tone. So whether it's something visual, and we'll look at different things in terms of specific thresholds.
And you said the threshold is a level?
Yeah,
Okay.
the threshold is the minimal level. Here's your baseline level. And this has to do again with energy coming into your system. Are you able to detect it coming in at this level? If you're not, then it's down here and you're gonna miss it. Whether it was something visual or something auditory, someone whispers something very, very softly, it's below your absolute threshold. You didn't catch that at all. Now, anything that's below the level, which is the absolute threshold, is called subliminal. Subliminal means we don't get it. It's below our level of perception.
That's a subliminal messaging.
Yep, yep. And they have tried lots and lots of times to use subliminal messaging in like movie theaters. They would insert as the theater, you know, as the movie reel is going along, they'd splice in the word drink Coke, just a frame that they would prepare. Drink Coke. Another one, eat popcorn. And trying to test to see whether that made people go out and drink, buy more concessions. Found out essentially it doesn't work. It's a good idea, but it does not work. Okay,
Wait, like would they just stop the whole movie and like for a quick frame, just like big words, drink Coke? Or would they have like a billboard in the back that would like flash by for like a second or two that said drink Coke?
it's right in the middle of all the other frames, just inserted in there.
But like you wouldn't notice it because one little frame, it takes like
A
15 or
millisecond.
something to take up 1 second. So
Right.
like that one,
Right.
you wouldn't even notice.
So the question is, if it's subliminal, are we noticing it? No. So theoretically, I guess the whole theory was flawed.
Does that mean sort of like Inception like doesn't work? Like where people try to like program people to think what they want them to?
Yeah, good question.
What's the baseline?
I don't know, I don't think so. I mean, I agree, I agree that it probably doesn't work, although the movie's based on that.
So is the baseline level basically the threshold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Baseline is the same thing as absolute threshold. Okay? Hit me with questions, because all of this is truly different. Okay, now, we do have absolute thresholds, but they vary for different people. What is your minimum level of stimulation needed to hear fill in the blank?
So is it kind of like pain tolerance in a way?
Paint colors?
No, pain tolerance.
Pain tolerance. All right,
Miss
paint
Turner's hearing
colors.
threshold's not the best.
In a way, in a really generic way, yeah, I think so.
Miss Turner.
Alrighty, let's talk about, yeah,
So like, let's say people have like not 20/20 vision, or like your vision's a bit less. Is that what threshold does for you? Like, if I can't hear something, is it because my threshold's different, or is it because of something else?
yeah. I know that in the last, I don't know why, I don't like it, but in the last 3 or 4 years, my hearing is diminishing. And so my absolute threshold for hearing a sound is not what yours is. And you know this thing, that as you get older, older people, and we tried this when Mrs. Wilson, if you remember her, was here, and she was under 30. And then we tried it with different teachers who were just slightly beyond that age. The ringtone, that if you're over 30-ish, your ears can no longer detect it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I really
Yeah.
don't.
There's no way I can hear that thing. I mean, it could be going on just as loud as all of you can stand, or more than you can
What
stand.
ringtone are we talking?
There's like
The
high-pitched
Is it that weird sonar type sounding one?
Yeah,
The one like
The one, I don't know, I can't
it's
hear
the
it.
one that you buy and it's like no adults or teachers will be able to hear it.
Oh, it's when you can, what? That's a thing?
You didn't
Yeah.
know?
What?
Look for it.
I'm sorry, I'm a good student who doesn't feel the need.
No, but it's just kind of a cool thing.
Wait,
Okay.
I don't know what
it
you're
hits a
talking
certain
about either.
decibel range. that
It's
adults can't hear.
worth discovering here, and meanwhile I'll go on. Okay,
That
these
doesn't-
absolute thresholds may not be absolute. Whoa,
What?
I'm now
Just
going
turn
back
it.
on what I just
wait,
said.
I think I found it.
Yeah?
It's some. Nope, that's music. That's a piano. Well, it's
Can't hear
some
it.
that
Alright,
adults can't hear.
I'm moving ahead and you will find it, okay. Something called signal detection theory.
Can you hear that?
Oh,
I can hear
Can you
it.
hear that? I can hear that.
Ow, I don't like that. I found it.
You can play that all day long.
That was terrible. Why
It's
was-
completely beyond my
I just
hearing,
thought
and we've discovered it's around 30-ish. Beyond that, isn't that crazy?
Could she like stick it right against you? Like, could she hold it right here all the way up? You wouldn't be able to hear it. Let's try.
I don't think it'll make any difference.
It's gonna hurt our ears more though.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna go through the whole video again. Hold on, I'll just bring it up to you. Go teach.
You don't like milk.
Okay.
Do we have cups? I'll take some more.
Mrs. Turner broke them.
Oh, that's
There's nothing going on.
What? That's satanic.
It's like dog whistles. How dogs can hear. But
Yeah, it's like don't play
Yeah.
this near like sensitive animals
Isn't
with
that
sensitive
something?
ears. Like don't hurt a dog.
It's like that movie, The Polar Express with the whistle. I mean, like the bell.
Does anybody
and
else
the
know?
hear it.
I know, but like I've never had that someone else's experience. Okay, well that was a good tangent.
Okay, whether we pay attention to, meaning whether we detect, okay, a stimulus. And again, that could be a sound, it could be a smell, it could be something you see. Depends also, and this is the definition of signal detection theory. Depends on our experience, our motivation, our alertness. I'll give you some examples. So sometimes a particular stimulus coming into the environment, people who are expecting alertness, expecting to hear it, will hear it. Let's say a new mother. She is so sleep deprived, and this is a fact, she won't hear a siren outside her house. That's true, she'll sleep right through it. But the baby whimpers, and she will wake up. So her motivation is very high to be alert to the sounds of her infant. Her alertness, well, she's not gonna be alert because she's trying to sleep, but I think in this case her motivation is gonna be very high. Another example, somebody on I don't know, I don't have the experience of this, but a submarine, or a guy in a control tower for air flight. The things that you don't know, you and I, sitting inside the tower or in the sub, we don't know to pay attention to these things because we're ignorant of them. The experienced, professional would be able to pick those signals out. So, signal detection theory says we'll either detect or ignore, we're not ignoring, be ignorant of a stimulus based on those kind of the more psychological, physical tendencies. Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay. That's what that theory means. Okay. Now, let's see. Oh, all right, we need to go back to absolute thresholds. We're still talking about thresholds, okay?
But like we're in order, right?
Well, we're
Yeah,
not like
this
adding
is how,
notes.
like,
It's in pen, so we're not adding notes on the absolute threshold.
No, this
No.
is like a different
No.
thing in
Okay,
the same.
okay.
Everything is coming just as you know it. Okay, so absolute threshold. Here's an example of absolute threshold, which I find amazing. You are standing on a mountaintop on a perfectly clear winter's night. Here's another mountaintop 30 miles away. One single candle flame. Our absolute threshold, on an absolutely clear night, 30 miles distant, you can see one candle flame. Isn't that crazy? You can feel the wing of a bee on your cheek. I don't want the wing of any bees on my cheek. You can smell a single drop of perfume in a 3-room apartment, like a small college apartment, a single drop.
What?
So,
It's like really specific.
Now.
now, we need to talk about difference thresholds. So you can perceive a particular stimulus, okay? So let's talk about, these are called different terms. Difference thresholds or just noticeable difference. Which psychology students oftentimes just call JND, okay? Okay, what are we talking about? If I'm holding a half-pound block of cheese, all right, 8 ounces of cheese, how much more cheese needs to be added for me to notice that it's now become heavier? If I am hearing a particular tone, how much of a change in pitch is necessary for me to say, that's a different pitch, it's off pitch? That is the just noticeable difference, or the difference threshold. So depending on what your sense is that you're talking about, it is the minimum difference necessary of any stimulus to detect a difference. Of weight, of pitch, of temperature, of brightness, of a change in color. And it's, again, half the time. And they do this because, I don't know, I don't know why that's part of the definition of absolute threshold and the just noticeable difference.
Wouldn't it be because some people like really just can't do, like hear certain differences, like people, for example, tone deaf people who honestly just can't help. So like, if I were to take a test like that versus if my brother were to take a test like that, like, Sam's tone deaf, I'm not. He can't.
But both of you have
Like we both have like the
different abilities, and the just noticeable difference for you would probably be smaller. You
Yeah.
would detect a change in pitch.
Because I just used
let's
it more versus when he did, so wouldn't that be probably why it's 50% of the time? Like, because there are just people who haven't used that part of it.
But we're not comparing you to someone else, we're comparing you to you.
Oh.
So 50% of the time
I thought
you,
this was a comparison.
no, each individual, 50% of the time, how accurately are you able to detect a change? So, logically, let's just take that half block of cheese. Okay, if I put an ounce on top of that, do you think I would notice it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yes. If I were holding a 10-pound block of cheese, if I put an ounce on there, would I notice it?
Yes.
No,
Probably
it's a different
not.
ratio.
So it comes down to this guy who figured out, it matters how much, how do I say this? For two stimuli to be seen as different, they are going to have to vary. But this guy named Weber came along and said, yeah, they have to vary. But he came up with not just they have to vary by an amount, but by a proportion. So he took the specific, like, okay, this is 1 pound of something, how much more do I have to add to it before I'm gonna notice a difference? He came up with a proportion. All right, so
Bless you.
this is called Weber's Law. And it has to do with when do we notice a change in the minimum amount of stimulus presented to us. All right? He said that for two stimuli to be perceived as different, they have to differ by a constant percentage or a constant proportion. And it varies according to whether you're talking about vision or hearing or what was the other one? Tones. Okay, the proportion varies. For vision, for light, so you have two lights. When will you notice that they're not the same? At what point will you notice that one is brighter, let's say, than the other? When there is an 8% difference between the two. And for weight, something weighs this much, something weighs a little bit more. At what point will we notice the difference? It's a lot more sensitive. 2%.
Wait, so that's when you'll notice?
Yeah. The just noticeable difference is when you notice a difference, a change.
2% of like
2%
Of the
Of
original
mass.
weight.
difference in weight.
So like if you have 100 pounds, you need 2 more pounds to realize the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
50, then you only need 1.
Or if
When you notice a change.
Guys, we do math.
And
Abby, this is big steps for us.
for sounds, it's much more sensitive.
Really?
Pitch,
It's 0.3.
yeah. It is two pitches, 2 sounds, 0.3
Wait, why did you suddenly just put a little
sounds as in pitch. Not sounds as in how loud a sound is, but a difference in pitch. That's a parentheses, darling.
It's around
Oh.
Okay, they only have to differ by 0.3%. Okay, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
At least we can tell what
Why-
parentheses
Why can I hear
is. Math too.
pitch, the change in pitch easier than I can detect a change in light?
I don't need to go for
It's because it just did.
I don't know. I'm wondering if there's something evolutionarily that's more important that we detect those sound differences. I don't know the answer to that, I just know what is. Okay, does that make some sense to us? Weber's law, the just noticeable difference. Now, I will tell you that once we get a lot of information, it's all gonna sound like it's just all smushed together in your head, and you're gonna have to sift it back out again by reading, I suggest you look at these slides that are on my website under the resources, by your notes, by Barron's. Barron's makes it so much easier. Okay. Now, there comes a point in any stimulus that we're exposed to when we kind of sort of quit noticing it. And I've talked about this like, Right now, you're not paying attention to your shoes and your feet. Oh, well, you have no shoes on your feet. But if you have shoes on your feet, now you might be paying attention to them, but you weren't. So, why don't we feel all the clothing on our body, all of the scrunchies in our hair, pulling our hair back with some tension, the band of our underwear? Why don't we feel all that?
Get used to it.
Because of sensory adaptation. It would be a sensory overload if we actually paid attention to everything. So this is protective. So sensory adaptation is easy to understand. Yeah.
So like those people who can never like stand like tags in their shirts and stuff like that, they just can't adapt to it. Like they can't like no matter how long, like since they were little, like they always have to cut the tags.
Right.
I
And
cut the tags.
I cut the tags off of everything too. Brand new clothing.
No, I was so
It's
long
gone.
with the little tag.
It's you know, whoever manufactured
Tag
it.
of like the price tag. Just leave it on there.
You know, if it says Chanel or
No, like
whatever,
that's
it's gone.
small or medium.
And this is a brand.
You have no right to
Can
judge me
you
though.
leave?
I know.
Some people are far more sensitive than others, and you will find this most definitely, and I'm not impugning anything on you or me, but you definitely find these sensory issues to be a great deal more prevalent among people with autism. Sensory adaptation is something that probably doesn't happen so readily. So, okay, sensory adaptation is diminished sensitivity as a consequence of constant stimulation. Think about that. Diminished sensitivity as a consequence of constant, I don't know what the word was, stimulation. It's adaptive. It's good for us not to have to pay attention to everything.
Is that kind of like what we were talking about in the last chapter? How like when a dog barks, a baby won't necessarily cry because they've been hearing the dog bark all through pregnancy. Yeah.
I don't remember talking about that.
Yes, you do.
There's habituation.
We did.
Yeah. Habituation was something, you know, babies will stare longer at something or stare less long at something that they get bored with.
I thought we talked about noises.
But I don't know if that's the same thing you're talking about. So I can't answer your question because I can't remember that discussion. Now, okay, if the stimuli that are, here's an interesting, really interesting concept. If the stimuli that are always coming at us, we eventually quit noticing. Why is it that I can stare at one thing for a minute, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, however long you tell me to, and that thing doesn't disappear? Think about that.
Wait, like doesn't it disappear?
Meaning like why don't you
Because your
just
eyes
stop
move a
noticing it?
lot.
There, she
You're
did
not
her
always
reading.
looking at it.
Okay, let's see if they have a visual on this. Ooh, what's this supposed to be about? Let's see. There's a couple of slides coming up here that we should look at. If you concentrate on keeping your eyes in one spot, you'll see the effects as your eyes adjust to stimuli in the following slides. All right, so stare at the center.
Can you like make it?
Smaller?
Yeah.
Smaller?
Yeah.
Why don't
When I'm disturbed, I don't like what's happening.
Stare at the center.
Oh. This is terrible.
It's very hard to keep your eyes centered, isn't it?
Yes.
I can't
I've
focus.
just
That hurt.
My contacts get blurry.
Wait, what, is something supposed to be happening?
Yeah.
I'm staring at
Look
it.
at the
I don't
wall.
I don't
Ow.
see.
Eyes keep getting
It's
screwed up.
like when you move your eye, you can still see it.
I don't know what's supposed to be happening.
There's a lot of those things you don't.
Just like screws up your eyes.
Let's see what
Oh,
this
look
says.
around the room now.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's kind of
Got-
spirals.
Like it
Oh,
got
I don't like
smaller.
that.
I'm wondering if it's supposed to spin. How
No,
do
it
you
doesn't.
turn these
It just
slides
messes with
into
your
a
eyes.
slideshow?
F5.
If you click the
F5, because there's probably some information here.
Oh, that might be from beginning, we'll find out.
Just go to
That is from beginning. I only know so
Press
many
escape.
shortcuts.
Press escape. I'll show you. Press escape. It's faster. No. Okay.
Fine, don't do Abby's
See
Never
stare.
the-
mind.
What?
Find your slideshow.
Oh yeah, you can also just go to slideshow and then
Or
from
if you
current
just click
slide.
the little button at the bottom.
Yeah,
That's what I was
gonna say. And then click this button.
I mean F5 is more fun.
I agree.
You could recycle
Oh,
that!
no.
Matthew,
Alright.
No.
Matthew DeNorcia, go
Where's
recycle
the
that.
recycle bin?
And now
It's
we're supposed to
literally
start
over there.
Now
This
we're
is like one
supposed to
of
have
those videos
to
where
stare
you
at it.
look at it and then like
Now what are we supposed to do with it?
Stare at it for a minute.
It's kind of easier to stare at.
Stare at it for a minute. I'm gonna.
It's really fun to stare at now.
Yeah, it's kind of cool now.
It doesn't seem round
I wonder
anymore.
what it would be like if you got LSD
Oh,
and stared at
it's
this.
zooming in.
Probably a bunch of different colors.
Oh,
it's getting bigger.
Yeah, my cell phone's getting bigger.
Oh
I
no.
don't think it's
No,
getting
why
bigger.
is it getting? Oh.
It's gonna
We're
explode.
This is with the lady.
This is weird.
Okay, now press next button.
It's not.
Wait,
No, it's not.
This
I'm
is so
just trying to get something out of this.
No wonder this
So
is
tricky.
So
You blink, that's why.
Don't do drugs, kids.
That's gonna smaller.
No, it's not even one of the drugs.
Next as in enter.
It's getting smaller.
No, like the
The
little.
arrow.
No, the.
Or you can just
Yeah, space bar.
What?
Space
bar.
bar.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Ah,
What's going on?
ah.
Okay.
This just sounds good.
I feel nauseous.
Now I know I'm indoors. Okay.
Break.
Wait, have you seen the video? It's like your brain on acid. Not on acid, on LSD.
Yeah.
I really want to know what that's like.
Wait,
Like,
no, what?
Then just take some LSD. Just take
Can
LSD.
we watch a video really quick?
Because of the drug.
You learned about
chapter,
drugs?
Well, I have one, but I don't know if it's
It's
the
on,
same.
it's on YouTube, and it's like your brain on LSD, and it's like you stare at it,
Let's
and
just
it's like
watch
a bunch
it.
of colors
What?
and stuff.
Let's just watch it.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm kind of afraid.
Perceptual set is what we
I like
expect to
it.
see. Let's see.
Matt.
Where's my slideshow?
Keep on pressing the.
Press the space bar. Go up here.
Oh, that's different. Okay.
You were just supposed to stare at it, and you see how like it gets bigger.
Okay.
It seems like it's.
Anybody saw it get bigger?
Yeah.
That's why
I
it's
didn't.
smaller.
Yes.
I thought it got smaller too.
Yeah.
Both.
Wow. Okay. Ooh, nauseous. Not good with movement, visual movement. Okay, we'll come back to our brain on LSD in a moment. Now, there is something called perceptual set, which is easy. It's what we see is influenced by what we expect to see, okay? What we see, what we hear, what we smell. I'll just use see.
Could you just say sense?
What?
I said, could you just say like sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if someone is talking about the Loch Ness Monster, and we see this good old-fashioned, we've all seen this somewhere before. Ooh, now, to me, it's never looked like anything other than maybe, I don't know, a log or something. Does it look like anything to you?
The Loch Ness
The Loch Ness
Monster isn't a
Monster.
myth. It's true. It's real.
Oh, yeah.
Abby, get out of this.
Kind of just looks like a tree branch floating on
Now,
water.
these
Bigfoot?
Guys, it's real.
Clouds.
Those are just clouds. They have a
you
funky
sure?
sort of
No, Mr.
That's trippy.
Those are aliens.
organization.
Have you ever seen? Those are aliens.
Those are aliens. Let's
That's
just
kinda
see if
trippy.
we have our F5 will do that to us.
No, they'll start from, have you seen?
Oh, she learns slowly. Oh my,
So
my,
anyway,
my,
I got this
my,
email
my,
once
my.
where it was like, look at these dots and you'll see Jesus on the wall. So like,
Yeah, if you stare at it long enough, it turns into it.
yeah.
So you stare at that and look at a wall.
No, if you stare at the dots, your eyes start to like blur and you get a picture.
I would never.
Where's
Well,
the,
I look at the dots and I turn around, look at my wall and then.
Here?
You're a man.
Stella, tell me if that's the slideshow.
Stare at these dots.
Yeah, that's what we're on.
No, it's the one next to it.
Oh, that would be cool, Cameron.
Yeah.
Like ask someone a
It's
problem
the
like
one next
that.
to it, the far one.
That would be so cool.
The
Reverse
far right
pro.
one.
Yeah.
Nope.
You already-
Nope.
That one,
Yeah.
that one.
Yep.
That one.
Create another.
Headspace.
Okay,
That sucks.
Yeah, it's definitely a tree branch.
Yeah.
If it's
okay. Now, here's interesting, picture.
Whoa.
Oh, I do see the yellow.
The perceptual set can be primed. If you see an old woman in this image, there's her nose, there's her
The chin.
mouth. Okay,
yeah, we've seen
you will be influenced.
I'm
Huh?
at Raven.
No?
But the,
Are you still seeing the old woman here?
No.
Look, it's
I can
different.
see
it's different. It's a different picture. It's not
Yeah,
the same
because the
picture.
necklace is
It
different.
is a
She has
different
an earring
picture.
She has a
and you can see
nose
her
in that
nose.
picture.
that one looks like she's
No, it's priming you guys. It's priming you to see it.
So if we're told that that's an old woman, you will see an old
No,
woman.
it is an old woman, and that is a young lady.
No, I see the young lady in
Priming.
the first one.
I know.
Oh, I see it.
However,
See her ear?
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay, it looks like a turtle, but you see that?
that's the young girl, right? Over here. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Now, they have pictures where they're so similar you can't really see the difference.
There was one in the book where it shows a guy playing a saxophone and then a woman. That one was cool.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Facing
Okay,
Oh, I love this.
now, there's also the,
I do.
hang tight, there's also the influence of your context. We're looking at this dot. And obviously, this dot is the same size, but by comparison with those things around it, the context is going to influence how our perception, okay, of the size of that dot, which is easy to understand, right? Same thing with words. Let's see if I'd like to see if there's all kinds of specific things they do here. Spelling answers. Double. Did context affect what word you wrote?
Double pair.
Double. Pair.
Oh, like doing P-A-I-R.
Double pair,
P-A-I-R.
Apple.
Pear.
Pear.
Oh, so you
Pear.
put P-E-A-R for
Right.
pear, because it's fruit.
Payee. Pear. You got three completely different words here. Pear, pear, pear.
Like how to do it different.
Context effects. Yeah, obviously. Okay, experiments show that your physical state, if you're tired and you have if you're running, if you're tired and have a distance to run, it's gonna seem further when you're tired. A target looks further when your crossbow is heavier, interestingly enough.
It's a very specific example.
That's interesting. A hill looks steeper
My crossbow.
when you have a heavy backpack. or after you've heard sad music, or when you're walking alone.
Going on high levels of sad music.
So don't
hikes
listen
to,
to
like,
sad
depressing
music when
music.
you're on your random hikes.
Hikes with
There
heavy
was
backpack
one
depressing
where, like,
music.
It's like
it
Sam
would say,
Smith.
Really tired. No, I can't do it, guys.
die,
That's like a 5-foot elevation. No,
and like
you don't get it.
a bunch of words with like 2 different meanings and 2 different spellings, and if you listen to sad music before, you always pick the negative one, so like die, D-Y-E, or D-I-E, you would pick D-I-E, and like other stuff like
That's
that.
exactly right. And anything you desire, not that I desire a banana split, but anything you desire looks closer.
That's because it's approaching my face this time.
I think I'm gonna leave it on the slideshow, so, wait. Okay, now we gotta talk about this. I think it's time for a short break.
Chemistry, anybody?
Yeah.